Good day, everybody. Welcome to this club officer training where we talk about corporate clubs are different. I'm Jane Croft from the Division H and 86 director. We have an awesome panelists here who are very experienced in the world of corporate clubs, and we're going to be answering all of your dying questions about corporate clubs. What makes them different from other clubs? The answer a lot. But don't worry, we have experts here to help you guide you through. If you are experiencing creating a corporate club, we'll address that as well. So, having that said, let me talk about what areas we're going to talk about. There's certain areas where we focus our attention on: a club quality, club officers, club meeting, membership renewal, speech contest, area director visit, and charter. Those are the various areas we'll be focusing our attention to. But before we get started, let me introduce to our wonderful panelists who will introduce themselves. The first one is Lenitra Berry. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lenny Treberry, and I am currently both the immediate past president of the Vera Bradley Toastmasters Club, and I'm also currently the vice president of PR at the Vera Bradley Toastmasters Club. And I have been in Toastmasters since 2020, so I am going on my third year, and I'm very happy to be here today.
Thank you so much. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. The next person is Robert Goodlow. Please introduce yourself. Wait, hold on, you're on mute. Try again.
He's not on mute, but we don't have sound. Do you have your microphone set?
Well, we're good. Okay, we can't hear you, Robert.
Can you hear me
Try
now?
again. Yes, go ahead.
My name is Robert Goodlow. Currently, I'm the Division C director. I've been in Toastmasters since 2014. I'm a member of the Lily Corporate Club, where I serve as the current treasurer as well.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you. And last but not least, Veronica Herbert. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Jane. My name is Veronica Heber. I'm the current Area 54 Director in Division E, and I'm also the immediate past president of my home club, Power Speakers, based out of Cummins in Columbus, Indiana. And I've been a member of that club for about 5 years.
Thank you, Veronica. And as far as I am concerned, I am the club founder for Virtual Voices Aspiring Toastmaster Club in Division A. And I'm also was the past VPE and club president. And now I'm in the Division H and A 86 director. So I'm coming from Northern Colorado, so very early in the morning with this recording. So I hope you sit back and relax and have fun. Let's talk about the first topic, club quality. The question here is, what are best practices and standards applied for a corporate club to be successful? The answer is this: there are multiple variables involved, but one of the most important variables to make it successful is you must have a club sponsor or a mentor to help you guide you through the strength of your club to be better than even before. Secondly, you must have a club success plan that is designed by nature to help you verbalize and write down what your club goals. Do not worry about whether you're going to make all your goals in the year or not. That's not the purpose of it. Purpose is to define the evolution of a club to the next level over a period of time. So that club success plan helps you identify where you're at, where you want to go, and what your future will be. And it's a very good way of strategizing the evolution of your club. So having a club sponsor can also help you define your club success plan as well to make sure that you have a clear, concise, measurable goal to evolve your clubs over time. So that's very important. Now, don't confuse sponsor with mentor. And it's very often that people get the two and two confused. The sponsor helps start the club. They're the one who helped trigger off movement into a club. The mentor helps you continue your roadmap to keep guiding you through. Now, if you have some challenges with corporate club and you're not sure why it's not working for you, whatever reason, there is a club coach. And those people assess your club and make determination what areas you can help the club officer to improve the quality of your club. For example, when I have DDAT, which is my club name, there was quite a few corporate clubs inside my very same company that were not doing very well. This was way before the pandemic. The problem they were having, they did not have a very good leadership sponsor buy-in for that club. So what they end up doing is some of them merged to mine. And so these members transfer over to my club, so we have that buy-in. The third thing is it's really helpful to have an executive sponsor inside the company. It's not the same thing as club sponsor. It's executive sponsor. And those people are usually way high up in the corporation. They allow you or give you corporate club permission to use the company assets for what they need for a Toastmaster. Like, for example, you're asking for employee time. You're asking for the equipment that's owned by the company. You're also asking for the space that is for the company. You're asking to borrow all of that asset to actually execute the Toastmaster Club. So all of these variables are very important, must be put in place to be successful. But nothing can be successful without having proper planning, training, and leadership. So that is how you increase the quality of your club over time. Now that brings me to the next question. If we need a good leadership, how do we do that? So the next question I have for Latinta is, how are club responsibility different from each position in a corporate club?
Hi, Jane. Thank you so much. So for corporate clubs, there's a few things that are going to be different. Just thinking about the fact that many corporate clubs are likely going to meet in the day during business hours. Meetings may take place during lunchtime or during low productivity times. And one of the primary differences between corporate clubs is that they will likely require a lot more partnership and collaboration with other people in corporate offices than other clubs. For example, when establishing a calendar of events in general with a corporate club, you're going to need to partner with your corporate events team to ensure that Toastmasters events don't conflict with other events and other heavy workload time periods. That's something that's going to be extraordinarily key to having a successful club. In terms of individual roles, the club president is not only going to need to make sure that the club is functioning in accordance with Toastmasters guidelines and rules, but also with corporate guidelines and rules and regulations. And if there are any things that are outside of that, the president's responsibility is going to need to be to make sure that those items are reconciled together. For the VP of Education, some things to think about are working with your local corporation's learning and development team or HR team to make sure that anything that we do from Toastmasters pathways or other metrics that we use in Toastmasters, that's going to qualify for any extended training or opportunities, or even thinking about how that applies to your end of year reviews. So that might be something that's really important. For the VP of Membership, we're going to need to have the considerations of a supervisor approval. Some companies have supervisor approval in order to be able to even do extracurricular activities. And you're going to need to consider other factors. My club, for example, has both hourly and salaried individuals in it. And so from that standpoint, you're going to need to make sure that your club is accommodating to those hourly individuals and running your meetings in an efficient time perspective. And then also making sure that your associates that are in your club are in good standing with the company. So those are things that are going to need to be important considerations. For the VP of PR, making sure that your partnership, you're partnering with your corporate communications team to disseminate any advertisement for meetings or Toastmasters events. You're also going to need to make sure that your posts are in accordance with your company's branding and guidelines and standards. So, for example, you may not be able to go and make your own website. You're going to need to be able to make sure that your website, it might have to be an internalized website, whatever your company uses, whether it's SharePoint or whatever you use, it might have to be more internal. So those are considerations that you're going to need to use. And so you'll need to partner with your corporate communications team and ask those questions if you are establishing a corporate club or trying to make sure the branding of your corporate club is a higher level. You're going to need to establish that with your corporate communications team and make sure what you do is in alignment with your company's branding guidelines. For the treasurer, if you are taking or receiving any funds, those funds, you're going to need to make sure that you're partnering with your finance team or the appropriate partnership. So if you are taking funds for various projects, you're going to need to make sure that you are partnering appropriately. So for example, if your members are not paying directly onto the website for their dues, or if you're taking funds for any other purpose, you're going to need to make sure that you're partnering with finance. Also, if you happen to receive funds for Toastmasters events, etc., those events are going to need to be expensed with a cost center, etc., according to your process. So that's going to be something that you're going to need to make sure that you partner with the appropriate department and make sure that those are in alignment with your guidelines. The sergeant at arms is going to need to make sure if you are meeting, especially in an in-person environment, the sergeant at arms is going to need to make sure that the meeting spaces are booked in accordance to the process that your corporate office has established. And when you are meeting, especially if you are meeting in a hybrid environment, you're going to need to make sure that the technology and programs that you are using are in alignment with your corporate IT and security guidelines. So some companies utilize Teams, some companies utilize Zoom, whatever program that you're using, it's going to be extremely vital that you're using that in the guidelines in which your company has established. Also, the secretary role doesn't really change. Sorry, set my own timer. The secretary role does not really change for a ton for a corporate club. You're just going to need to make sure, however you disseminate that information, you disseminate that accordingly. But just overall, the appropriate partnerships are going to be key to making sure that your corporate club is successful. Just make sure you partner with as many people as you can.
Thank you, Lintinda. And you brought up a very good point. If you have hourly employees versus salary, and I have the same situation with my club, we decided we had enough members to create a second type of club meeting to cater to that schedule for those folks. So even though we have the main club meeting, we have another one. So that other one will help cater those people who can't participate in the normal meeting time. So that has been very helpful in that. So that's a good point right there. We have to make sure we accommodate for both. And that brings me to another question here. With all these details of arrangement and everything, we need to talk about club meetings. So, Robert, what are club meeting challenges for a corporate club, if any? What are they?
Yes, that's a good question. I think we'll break down the club meeting challenges in 3 phases. We'll talk about attendance, we'll talk about retaining members, and we'll talk about sort of space, consistency of space. I think these are the 3 main areas in the corporate club setting that we definitely have issues and challenges with. Attendance is obvious. Even though we're dealing with thousands of individuals in a specific room setting, I think attendance is very tricky sometimes because unfortunately Toastmasters is a voluntary aspect, so work is definitely treated as a priority. So you get a lot of individuals that are ready to join and grow and learn from Toastmasters, and you see the consistency in those members. You get individuals who want to benefit from Toastmasters and who are eager to learn from Toastmasters, but maybe work gets in the way, maybe a new job assignment gets in the way, maybe life just gets in the way. So even though we're dealing with a corporate club, I think attendance is still an issue that a lot of corporate clubs deal with as far as consistency of attendance. Work is definitely a priority, and it should be a priority because we are there for the work. I think there just has to be a better fine line with taking the time out for something that's going to benefit your life from a professional standpoint, from a personal standpoint. It's definitely difficult to have consistent members who may not have the drive, may not have the mentorship, may not have the understanding or identification of what Toastmasters can bring. They may join Toastmasters because they hear about it. They want to speak better. They want to communicate better with their bosses. They want to communicate better with their peers. But you still have to pour into Toastmasters to get out of Toastmasters what you want from it. So I think attendance is a very difficult issue regarding that. And with that attendance, that also cascades into things like commitment. When you're not putting the attendance as a priority due to work, a lot of the times with meetings from my experience in corporate clubs, it's hard for individuals to commit to speeches and roles. And I say it's hard to commit because it's still viewed as a secondary act. So even if you forecast out further for speeches and roles, when the day comes, the individuals may not show up to the meeting, and it's because of work or it's because of a new job assignment, things of that nature. So those are definitely things regarding attendance that comes into play. It's also really hard for regarding attendance for members to step into roles, step into club roles, step into area, division, and district roles, because it's still viewed as sort of that voluntary aspect. I don't think the effort outside of work is is shown in most members. Most members are still confined to sort of, we attend this meeting during work hours. Once I'm done with work, I'm done with work. So I think that is an aspect of attendance that we definitely run into. A couple of ways I think we can alleviate that attendance problem is to just utilize sort of, every company has an intranet. So you need to get the communication across using your internal services that you have, whether it's screens that are showing throughout the facility, whether it's those Microsoft Teams boards, whether it's those Jammer and Yammer boards. The intranet is a perfect way to get that communication across as far as Toastmasters. And it's a real aspect of leading by example. I think another great way to get that attendance consistent and up is to definitely leverage your department or your workspace. It's easy to ask a stranger to join Toastmasters. You're going to have a low probability. But if you're asking someone that you know, a familiar face that sees you and work with you, it's going to be easy to let them know about Toastmasters, the benefits of Toastmasters, and they'll show up for these meetings. So you constantly get a new stream of individuals into Toastmasters, a new breath of life into Toastmasters, individuals that are wanting to really take Toastmasters by the reins and make something out of Toastmasters, pour in, get out what they're pouring in. You definitely leverage your department and your workspace, that personal touch to the invitations of someone that's comfortable with you makes a world of difference than just general outpouring of interest. And I think another aspect that we definitely can do to sort of alleviate sort of this attendance is scale it up to a higher level. Let's bring the bosses in, bring the CEOs in, the senior directors, the VPs, because these individuals hold weight in your eyes at your job. If you see that they're taking this serious, they're enjoying Toastmasters, they're encouraging or even influential about Toastmasters, it just puts a different spark in you to say, hey, let me get into this. Let me get consistent about this. Let me dive into this to see what I can do. So as far as attendance being an issue, I think that resolution of utilizing your internal communication area, leveraging your personal knowledge of people that know you in the department for that invitation, and also bringing in that hierarchical management level will also help sort of that attendance get solidified. Another issue that's related to attendance is retaining members. A lot of times with corporate clubs, we lose members to new jobs, we lose members to new roles, we lose members to just lack of priority. That's just a common nature of the corporate club. You're going to lose individuals based on the work priority or if they're actually in the club or not moving forward. I think couple of ways to alleviate that is to tie the Toastmasters relationship to your job relationship. So seek out your boss or your department and get those individuals to sponsor your membership for Toastmasters. This puts a direct relationship with you, Toastmasters, and your job, and it makes it more. It takes away some of that voluntary act and puts it more of as a mandate. You understand? So you have your job pay for your Toastmasters membership. Then that turns into you putting this on your yearly review, putting this on your continued learning plan. So now you're getting credit for how you grow and how you succeed in Toastmasters. Your upper management is aware of your efforts in Toastmasters, and this can reflect on you from a professional standpoint. So you get your job to sponsor you. You're not paying the membership fees if they're willing to pay it. It gives you that, it gives you more of a reason to be a retained member in my eyes. And also having this as a direct visual site or line item on your yearly review or your continual learning plan. So you can get the accolades and the recognition from Toastmasters, and it's not being treated just as a voluntary act. You're actually getting something tangible out of it that works directly to your professional skill set outside of what you're seeing inherently from being a better public speaker. I think the last take is just sort of the consistency of meeting rooms. I know that doesn't seem like a real issue, but meeting rooms can be very scarce, especially dealing with the size of individuals, the number of individuals that are in Toastmasters. It's really hard to get the same meeting room over and over and over again because you're competing with the meeting time with thousands of individuals. Sometimes there are a hierarchy of executive assistants that may need the room for something very, very specific and you'll get bumped from it. So these things play a role with the room changing potentially every week, maybe every month. And a lot of people like routine and consistency. So when you're putting information out on your intranet or just however you're putting it out, it's hard to put a room number because if your room number changes and your new prospective member comes to the room number, they don't see you there, they get discouraged, they don't come again, they don't try again, they don't think you're organized, you're putting out the wrong information. So that it gives off that vibe that you do not want. So consistent meeting rooms definitely play a role in sort of retaining members and actual attendance of the actual meeting. Definitely discourages you if you don't have that sort of consistency. And unfortunately, in the corporate setting, there may be an actual problem. What you can do to sort of resolve that is work with the department assistants or the executive assistants that deal with the scheduling of the meeting rooms in your area. Inform them of the importance of Toastmasters and the importance of having a specific role and work with them to sort of find a common line on a room that you can facilitate throughout that year's booking for that physical year of that officer role of sergeant at arms, or find some sort of solution where you can do half and half, but find a more common thread and trend where you can have a consistency room meeting. And you definitely have to use the executive assistants sort of to override what could be there because they can move things around or they can find you a suitable solution that can fit your needs. But I think definitely a consistent room will pay off largely with great benefits when you're dealing with retaining members and attendance. So as far as the challenges, a recap for the challenges, attendance is definitely an issue. Retaining members is an issue, and a consistent room space is an issue. But I gave you all sort of resolutions that I feel that have been successfully implemented that you can see fit and use in your struggles for a corporate club.
Thank you, Robert. And you brought up a very good point here. And we have to have the ability to pivot in a meeting. That's what I call them. When you have last minute role changes, last minute assignment and everything. But it also raised another question. We should have options of how we can meet in a club meeting. So Veronica, what are the pros and cons and different types of meeting? Hybrid, in person, virtual, for a corporate club? and how do we decide which format is the best?
Thank you so much, Jane. I'm excited to talk about this. My own club, Power Speakers, has been through all three types of these with over the last 3 years, having to pivot and accommodate what was possible for meetings during all those changes. So for fully online clubs is the first meeting format type that I'll talk about. Virtual or fully online. Some of the benefits of having your Toastmasters meetings be only online is that it's accessible from different locations. You may have members from your company spread out around different buildings, different locations, states, countries. And so having it virtual will really open it up to the attendance and the membership in that way. It also saves time and travel. As Robert mentioned, people are busy, and Lenitra mentioned people are going on to their next meeting right away. So if they can just click on the link instead of having to walk 15 minutes to another building, another meeting room, then that'll open it up in their schedules that way to make those meetings every week or whatever your schedule is. And then another benefit of having online meetings for your club, online meeting format, is that members get to practice online presentation skills, and that is a different skill. And I really enjoy having this safe environment to practice these new skills with the technology. So online presentation and meeting facilitation. One other benefit that I find is not a very big deal, but I find that the timer role can be more consistent when you're online rather than in a hybrid meeting format. But I'll talk more about hybrid meetings next. So some disadvantages to online only meeting formats. These disadvantages are probably similar between corporate and public clubs, but I find that engagement can be more of a challenge. It's harder to get to know people, to socialize and network. It's really hard to have those kind of side conversations, get to know the people around you when it's one microphone at a time, for example. And then it's also difficult in the online format. It can be challenging to practice and evaluate body language. So getting people to use their hand gestures in the box that's not so natural or not so easy to see and different from an in-person presentation. So some tips for clubs that are considering or that are facing challenges for an online meeting format. I would recommend that officers be flexible to meet with members. Like if you happen to work in the same building with someone who's joining the club, then you can meet with them in person for a new member orientation or membership submission or payment. I recommend that you leverage online meeting tools like reactions, polls, the chat, and the attendance logs. Those can all be really useful tools for enhancing the quality of your club. Similar to club officers meeting with people in person, maybe the mentors, if your club is pairing members with mentors, then that could be an opportunity to meet in person in those relationships outside of the club meeting. So those are some pros and cons of fully online meeting format. Another style is hybrid meetings, and this is what my club currently does. So you've got people joining via Zoom, and then you've got people in the room too, and everyone can see each other and still have this large meeting in this way. So some of the advantages of the hybrid meeting format for corporate clubs. So people are still, if they're working remotely, if they're hybrid, they work in a different state, or if they're ill that day, like I would be calling in today, I wouldn't be going in person with my cold, then people still have that option to join. With corporate clubs, you often have the technology available via the sponsoring company. So your work laptop has the camera, has the microphone. The conference rooms in your facility have that technology built in often. So that's definitely an advantage for a corporate club to be able to host hybrid meetings. And then I don't know about you, but my corporate meetings, my meetings at work are often hybrid or virtual. So a hybrid meeting format is a great place to practice these skills that are going to apply directly to my work outside of Toastmasters. Some disadvantages of the hybrid format. So the first one that comes to mind for me is it can be hard to balance the meeting experience between the online attendees and the in-person attendees. It's hard to get the same experience for both audiences. So for example, if the speaker is in person in the room, maybe the evaluator online, the camera might be so far away, they can't see their facial expressions, or if the microphone doesn't quite pick up everything. Or if there are side conversations in the room, then maybe the microphone can't handle that. So the Zoom audience, it gets difficult to hear for the online participants. So that can be a challenge. And then it can be hard to socialize and network with the online attendees, similar to the online only meeting format. So this is another case where I would recommend you leverage the chat, the reactions on the Zoom. And then a final challenge of a hybrid meeting format is that you'll need a reliable meeting space, like Robert was talking about, with making sure you have a consistent meeting place every week. Having a reliable space with the technology can be a challenge in some cases, and you may need someone in the meeting designated to managing the online meeting room. So this would be a person in addition to the sergeant at arms who's setting up the in-person room and handling the in-person aspect. You may need someone managing the Zoom room. Some tips for the hybrid format. Be prepared to offer training and support for members on the technology. Like, how do you mute yourself? How do you remove the audio if you're joining the Zoom from the room? Where, if you're in person, where are the microphones? Where's the camera? Where do you need to be looking for the online audience? Where's the stage, so that if you're walking around during your speech, you won't suddenly move off camera? And for those members joining online, supporting them in that way to be able to participate effectively.
Thank you so much.
Oh, sorry, Jane. I'm going to talk about a third format. I know I'm running long.
Okay, go ahead. Talk about the
um,
third format. We're all
yeah.
ears.
All right. So for in-person only meetings, the benefits of having in-person only meeting formats for a corporate club, a big draw of Toastmasters is the in-person format of public speaking. When people think of Toastmasters, they think of public speaking. So having the fully in-person format can be a major attractor for that purpose. And then members can get to know each other better. There can be more casual socialization in person before and after the meeting. Some challenges for in-person only meetings for corporate clubs, like we've talked about, people are usually rushing out to their next meeting. And then you have to find a consistent meeting room. So some things that we've already talked about. One suggestion for in-person meetings, which could also apply to hybrid meetings because you still have that in-person location, it can really help to put up signs around the facility to direct people to your meeting room. That can really help with visibility, get people aware that your club is there and they can come and visit. Right. So how do you decide what works for your club if you're considering changing formats? I would say identify your audience. Do you know that you have a lot of members in the facility where you are who will be coming in person to the meeting? Maybe you want to restrict it and make it an in-person meeting format. Or on the other hand, do you have people who will be calling in from lots of different locations? Then you might go with the online format. So you can do a survey of your current club members, see if they're interested in changing and what they think the benefits, the strengths would be for their club. You could survey prospective members. So if you have an audience from your company who you think would benefit from Toastmasters or who would be prospective members, and work with your communications team potentially or your HR team to survey potential members. And then identify if you have the resources, if you're moving to hybrid meetings, will it work? Can you get a meeting room? Can you get the hybrid meeting technology, and then just test it out, have a trial meeting. And then I recommend when you do that, get feedback right away from the attendees in that meeting, what they think went well, what they would recommend to improve. So that's my long answer on meeting formats for a corporate club. I'll just leave off as a takeaway that make sure that your meetings are providing value, no matter the format, that people can come and they can have fun and they can benefit from the meetings, whatever format that may be.
Thank you. And you know what? You brought up a good point. If we can stabilize the meeting place consistently, whatever format we do, like Robert said, one of our challenges is retaining our members. So how do we handle that? Latina, how did the corporate club handle the renewals for the members?
Right, thank you so much, Jane. And I'm just going to do a gentle correction. My name is Lenitra. And so in terms of corporate clubs handling the renewal for membership, generally renewals are not too different for a corporate club than other clubs. So corporate clubs do go through the same process as any other members, but here are just some things to consider. So if your club member dues are paid by your company, you're going to need to make sure that you submit your estimated headcount for your company's upcoming budgets. So whenever your company's fiscal year period is happening, and if you have an estimate of what your membership is going to look like year over year, you're going to need to have that consideration in the budget and submit that. However, whoever you're partnering with or wherever the Toastmasters budget falls, you're going to need to make sure that that budget consideration is entered in and submitted in advance. So that's something that you're definitely going to want to consider. So don't just think about, oh, I'm going to pay for the dues of my current membership. You want to think about paying for the dues of potentially new members as well, and putting that in for future budgets and making sure that that's planned in. Also, if your company does pay for dues, you might want to establish standards. So standards for your club, just to make sure that those dues are being used appropriately. So thinking about attendance, participation, and just other activities, and making sure that those dues are going to great use. Also, if your members are paying out of pocket, make sure that you are starting to prepare them early. So think about when your fiscal time periods are, looking at your fiscal calendar, and just some examples. If you know that this is a time period that associates are receiving bonuses, encourage them to pay their dues early, or sending out some frequent reminders, thinking about what that looks like, and making sure that associates know when it's appropriate. So for example, talk about your dues and your renewal process in your meetings and talk about it often. So when that time period comes up, for example, we're at 80% renewed, we need a few more members, we're at 90% renewed, celebrate when you're at 100% renewed. So think about what that looks like and make sure that you're talking about it in the context of your meetings as well. Also, when members renew, make sure that they're receiving a thank you letter as a show of appreciation. So just sending them a nice little thank you email. Thank you so much for renewing your dues this year. We're excited to go into this time period with you, and we're excited for what our club is offering. So sending those thank you letters as a show of appreciation just deepens that connection that much more. And just thinking about incentives. So having an early bird incentive for those who pay their dues by a certain date is just really, and whatever your club offers, whatever you have, just take someone to lunch or whatever you have to be able to have an incentive to make sure that people feel a rush to pay their dues early. So while the process is not necessarily any different than other clubs, there are some methods that you can utilize as a corporate club to ensure that you can capture members and keep them to renewing their dues.
Thank you. You know what? I like the idea of everybody wants to become a member. They do the renewals, but I think there's something else that members should challenge themselves, and that is our speech contest with Toastmasters International. And people should try for it. You never know. But in a corporate club, how do we do this? So, Veronica, what are the strengths and challenges or tips, or even suggestions for a successful speech contest in a corporate club?
Thank you so much, Jane. Yeah, so having a contest at the club level and specifically in corporate clubs, the primary purpose of having a contest in your club is to identify a representative to send to the area level. Clubs are not required to have a contest. Some choose to do this, some choose not to. I think that speech contests are great for corporate clubs. Whether you have the formal contest by the Toastmasters speech contest rulebook or a friendly competition in your club, depending on the environment and what works best for your members. But speech contests are great for corporate clubs because members of corporate clubs are often really motivated by the competition. It can be a fun event for the club as a whole to get people involved. It's a great way to incentivize members to participate. And another strength of corporate clubs for speech contests are that they can thrive at being well organized and professionally implemented. So a lot of the benefits that we've talked about with having the technology available, for example, for your meeting formats, and having the resources within the organization that may go into planning an event. Some challenges for corporate clubs with speech contests. So since the club leadership and the club members are volunteering to be part of this organization, who volunteers to organize the contest? Does it always fall on the same officer every time, whoever may be the one who's most knowledgeable or most dedicated, or just giving that time? So a challenge can be who is going to be giving their extra time that may be needed to organize the club. Another challenge for corporate clubs is that often members aren't aware of outside of the club bubble, outside of the club level, that there is this international speech contest that will go up to the area. You can compete against members from other clubs around your area, your state, or internationally. So it's a great opportunity for members to learn more and get more involved beyond their club. Clubs may need help from the area director. Club leadership may need help from your area director to gain awareness for the contest rulebook, or help getting volunteers. For example, if you need more help with judges or other roles for the contest. And finally, another challenge for corporate clubs with speech contests is that it can be hard to get participation in the contest, especially participation beyond the club level. It would require a time commitment for members outside of work hours, which may be a barrier to them. So depending on your clubs, the area level may work better to say a Friday afternoon or Thursday evening, just figuring out the balance for your area and the corporate clubs in your area. So how can you get more participation from members to participate in a speech contest within your club? I definitely emphasize the benefits of competing in a contest for your members. It will push their skills to the next level or in a new direction. Competition is a very different environment from a regular club meeting or club speech. You can show the videos of the previous international speech winners during club meetings so the members can see what that's like and what those top-level Toastmasters speakers are like. And then you can reach out to individuals for encouragement, because often members are a little nervous to sign up, but if someone even just reaches out and says, hey, have you thought about signing up? Are you available? Then that might be just the push that they need to get them to sign up. I won't go into too much about how to have a speech contest because it's not too different from a public club. There is the speech contest rulebook from Toastmasters International and the kit. So those materials are all available from toastmasters.org and even linked on our district website, District 11. But yeah, work with your club officers to get that going, to get the club level speech contest, set a date, set a location, advertise it, recruit volunteers, and one other recommendation, I guess, as far as planning the contest that may be different from a public club, in the corporate club, is that you might want to prepare your audience a little more too. So the members who are not necessarily competing, because they'll probably have no exposure to Toastmasters contests, the formal contests. So just let them know that this is a thing. And yes, they're very formal and structured, but it's a great opportunity. And it'll be a great experience for the club and for those members who are competing.
You know what? It would be very interesting if all of us from different area of District 11 can come and join and watch the contest. But the area director should fully support the club as needed. So how can the area director get into the corporate club? Robert, how does an area director get access to a corporate club?
They can't. That's the short answer. No, that's a great question. How do you gain access to corporate clubs? Specifically the area director. And this doesn't just mean the area director. This is any visitor, any past member. Basically, with corporate clubs, the reason why they're closed is due to having to be a member of an employee of the actual organization. So when you're dealing with closed circuit buildings that have security due to whatever high level access that needs to be done, you must first communicate with any member inside of the Toastmasters Club to initiate what I would just call a general visitor's pass. So there's some type of software or some type of pipeline or protocol where visitors are allowed inside of the corporate setting, but it must be initiated by a member of Toastmasters prior, and you must be accompanied by that actual individual inside the organization at all times. So visitors are allowed inside of the corporate setting. You just must be accompanied by a member at all times. So basically what would happen is you would initiate the actual visitors pass, whatever that platform may be with your organization for the corporate club. You put the individual's name, probably their email, maybe a phone number. The individual will come to the building. They will check in with the security desk, show their ID. Once they show their ID, they will get a visitor's pass, and you have to wait until the actual member comes to meet you at the front desk to let you in, because you must be escorted by this actual employee at all times. You can't wander off. Unfortunately, you can't go sightseeing. You can't pop into other rooms and meetings and things of that nature. So you must be accompanied by a member of the actual corporate club at all times. But it's not a hard task to do. It's not rocket science. It's nothing fancy. It's nothing crazy. You just have to communicate beforehand with the member of the corporate club. They must, on their part, initiate sort of a visitor's pass with your limited information, and then you get visitors access, but you must be accompanied by a member. And this doesn't just limit you to that building. You put your time frame down. You can stay for lunch if time permits with that employee. They can give you a tour if they have the time. You can sit in on executive committee meetings if those meetings are after the actual club meeting. So you can really benefit in one setting with different aspects of that Toastmasters timeline. But it's all about just a visitor's pass, and you have to be accompanied by a member. But one good thing about that is most of the organizations parking's free unless there isn't a parking lot. So there's normally a visitor's parking lot. They don't charge you. If anyone asks to take money from you, just say no, because it's a gimmick. So it's free parking. You're right up the front. You go in, you check in as a visitor, and you have the access to attend the not just Lily, but any corporate club meetings with that actual member. The only caveat may be limited time. So if the meeting is only an hour, the member that actually is giving you the access that you have to be accompanied by may have a pending meeting right after. So that means they have to escort you out maybe a few minutes before the meeting's over with, or right after the meeting's over, and you can't talk and do any recap or any in-person communication. So that is the only sort of caveat with the corporate club. There may just be overlapping pending meetings that the other members have to attend, and they can't stay for any recap or any elongated conversation on the actual visit for the area director. But as far as access, it's just a matter of just getting you in the system and getting you accompanied by a member of the actual corporate club. And one other thing is retirees are also considered visitors, but they have more access to the area. They still have to be accompanied, but they still have more access to the area. So retirees are also an aspect of that as well. But anybody can get access to it as a visitor, area director, just a member, a potential member, prospective member. The only added caveat is you must get checked in. You're limited to the time that the actual meeting is being held, and you must be accompanied by a member of that organization at all times.
Thank you, Robert. And I hope all of you enjoy this wonderful wealth of information. It's a lot to take in, but are you ready to charter a corporate club? You can do so in your club. Let's talk about what decision you have to make in order to charter a club. And this is from my actual experience in creating Virtual Voices Aspiring Toastmasters Club at Elevance Health. And we call them VBAC for short. If you can find 20 people who are willing to commit to participate and evolve in creating a corporate club, that is your starting point at that point. And if they want to learn more about Toastmasters, why not do a Toastmaster 101 presentation to other people so they can understand what Toastmasters is all about? Now, the important thing I've learned over the years, and I'm sure everybody else will agree, Toastmaster is not necessarily for every single corporation. So there have to be some decision to make. Most often, if you have a company's mission values matches closely to Toastmaster mission and value, you have a much easier buy-in for that reason, because Toastmasters become perceived as an extended tool for leadership and type development inside the company. So it becomes another program tool that employees can participate in. So usually the HR will actually accept that. And the buy-in is very important. I cannot emphasize enough. If you can find somebody inside the company at a very high level that who can actually allow and authorize the creation of this club by having this buy-in. And when you're doing, you're actually asking, can we use company assets, employees, equipment, space, time to create a club inside the company? It's not owned by the company, but it's owned by Toastmaster International. So it's very important that we have that clear distinction. And it's very important for that executive sponsor to realize we have to use the proper brand use as asset. Like Lenita said earlier. So we have to make sure that our brand does not clashes with company brand and vice versa. So we have to respect the boundaries and regulation between those two. Now, once you get those 20 people, the next step is how we're going to pay for the club. How we're going to charge the fee. This is where it gets really challenging. I would strongly recommend that you find somebody within that 20 people who is fiscally, financially responsible person to help structure a financial model for the club. So that way, if you ever get audited, you're protecting not only the club, but you're also protecting the company because you're the main attachment to the club. So, having that said, we need to make a decision on how we're going to do this. Is the company going to pay for the charting fee, as well as the initial membership fee, as well as the initial pathway fee? Or is it going to be initial that as well as all the renewals and thereafter? or it could be that the member is responsible for all of that. So there's this ultimate decision that has to be made on that end. The other thing you want to be aware of is meeting space. Like Robert said, we have to define the space and say, can we use this space for us? And to answer that question, is you have to ask what kind of meeting format you're going to be in. Like Veronica, she expressed the different pros and cons of each meeting format. So that's another decision that has to be made. The executive sponsor will want to hear all of that in part to make a decision to allow or not to allow. And when you have all of that pieces of the puzzle within an action plan, you're basically creating a business model of the club inside your company. And once you have all that, write it down, make a document there. When you have that document, it becomes your supporting document with your signature or digital signature. This is how we're going to build the club. And you must follow Toastmaster International guidelines as well. So when you have that document, you can share it with the executive sponsor. He can sign off on it. When he does sign off, that's the time to celebrate and start applying for chartering the club. So when you charter a club, there's an application packet and so on. We're not going to be talking in great detail about that. However, you can get all that information on Toastmaster International website. Or you can contact Diane Stewart of District 11, who is a club growth director. She'll be happy to help you set up this packet. So you follow the packet, study the packet, find 20 people, find the executive sponsor, have all the buy-ins. Now here's where it gets very fun. When you get all that in place, I ask those 20 members to poll them. What is the club new name going to be? That is where it gets started. Let them have their creativity and come up with some names to help identify who they are where leaders are made. So have fun with that. In my case, Viva, we had what's happening on March. We had to make a decision what our name was going to be. So at that time, there was that March Madness basketball tournament happening. So we grew that the theme with our Sweet 16 down to the 8, to the 6, to the Final Four. Boom, we got a name. So everybody submitted their names, nomination names, and we narrowed it down to one, and we became Virtual Voices. So that is how it all happened. So, but have fun with it, make it fun. Then when you actually get charted, celebrate, have your club meeting to celebrate that. And so when you have all that players in place, you have your club officers up there. You have your sponsor there. You have your executive sponsor there. You have a business model. You have a business plan, as well as your financial model there. It does not hurt to create a club success plan early in the game. Go ahead and download that template. Create that plan so it can help you put your foot in the door and start growing in the club. And the VPE will have that hard job of trying to get everybody into an icebreaker, everybody trying to assign to a pathway. So make an effort of doing educational program inside that club to say, this is the pathway, this is how it works, and so on. So people start picking up speed and become committed to the leadership development. So these are all the different attributes of decisions. I hope whatever you heard today will help you decide what you want to do. And I hope you will do create your own corporate club. Why not start? There's nothing to stop you. And by doing so, you actually gain valuable experience in how to create a team from scratch. And that itself will be very valuable in your performance review with your boss because you actually created the team. So I hope you take all that into account, and please be sure you think seriously by creating a group club. It is fun. You have great people together on like minds who all want to be leaders within their own company and the future and the career. So I hope you enjoyed today's meeting, and I will see you around later. So thank you for coming, and see you around. Bye bye.